Think about your best revenue month this year. Got that in mind? Now, think about your worst revenue month this year. Same you, same expertise, probably the same amount of hours spent at your desk. So, why the swings in revenue? And do you actually know what made the good months good and the bad months bad? Now, you probably think you know, most consultants I talk to do. Maybe that good month was when a referral landed. Or maybe someone that you talked to months ago and hadn't been in contact with since got back to you wanting to hire you. Maybe in that bad month, you didn't get any referrals, and the prospect that you thought was going to say yes, were absolutely certain was going to say yes, didn't. Or maybe you went to all of the networking events on your calendar and you didn't find a single person who wanted to find out more about what you do. I have a question for you. If you wanted to, could you replicate that good month? Now, I'm willing to bet that the answer to that question is no, if you're being brutally honest with yourself. Because those things that happened that made the good month good and the bad month bad, none of that was under your control. The referral came from someone else. The old contact came back even though you hadn't been in touch with them. That prospect you were sure was going to say yes, didn't say yes. And the rooms that you were in didn't have the right people in them. And that's really the problem, isn't it? Right now, your income is at the mercy of timing and luck. So if you're spending time on marketing and sales, and yet you're still having good months and bad months riding the revenue roller coaster, this next 15 minutes is for you. Now, I know what it feels like to not know where your next lead, your next client, your next project is coming from, or even when you're going to get your next project. I've been there. I was a consultant for 35 years. I had good months and I had bad months. I rode that revenue roller coaster for the entire 35 years I was in business. When I finally closed my consulting business and opened a coaching practice, I spent 4 years trying to figure out how to make consistent, predictable monthly income. I tried every tactic that I learned about. I invested nearly $20,000 in courses and coaching. Nothing changed the underlying pattern. Then I finally understood why. I hadn't built a well-oiled money-making machine. Here's what we're going to do in the next 15 minutes. I'm going to show you what a complete money-making machine looks like. Then I'll walk you through the 4 that your money-making machine absolutely cannot run without. Then you'll diagnose yours in real time, so you leave this session knowing exactly which parts are missing or broken. By the end, you'll know what gear to focus on first. Ready to get off the revenue roller coaster? Let's dive right in. Here's what no one ever told you when you were starting out as a consultant. No one told you that you needed to make a money-making machine. You probably thought that if you did good consulting work, the clients would come. You accepted that business development, aka sales and marketing, was a necessary evil, and you picked up random tactics as you went, whatever someone recommended, whatever seemed to be working for someone else. And you've been running those ever since. But a collection of tactics is not a machine. A machine has parts that connect run in sequence, and produce a predictable outcome. Every gear has a specific job, and when all the gears are there and connected, it runs reliably. When one gear is missing or broken, the output is unpredictable, or nothing comes out at all. What you have right now is a pile of parts that have never been assembled into a machine. That's the actual problem behind your revenue roller coaster. That's the real problem behind you not making the kind of money you deserve to be making. You never built a money-making machine. Your business development process is your money-making machine. It's the system that takes you from unknown to hired, consistently and reliably. A complete money-making machine has 8 components. Each does a specific job. Today, I'm going to walk you through the 4 your machine absolutely cannot run without. The first component is the intake valve. In your money-making machine, it's specialization. In an engine, the intake valve controls what gets pulled in. Open it too wide, and you get the wrong mix. And the engine runs rough, misfires, or stalls. Get it right, and everything downstream runs the way it's supposed to. Your specialization does the same job. It controls who gets pulled into your world. When it's sharp and specific, the right people recognize themselves in your content, your outreach, and your conversations. They self-select in. The wrong people self-select out, and that's a good thing. Your pipeline fills with people who actually need what you do and are willing to pay for it. When your specialization is vague, for example, if you say that you serve businesses of all sizes across multiple industries, the valve is wide open. Everyone gets pulled in. You spend time in conversations that go nowhere, write proposals that don't close. Every other component in the machine depends on what comes in this valve first. The data backs this up. Specialists earn 42% more monthly income than generalists. Specialization does not limit your business, even though you think it might. It's what makes the rest of your money-making machine run. The next component in your money-making machine is the fuel injectors, otherwise known in your machine as finding potential clients. In an engine, fuel injectors don't dump fuel randomly and hope some of it ignites. They deliver precisely measured amounts of fuel at exactly the right moment on a continuous cycle. Your lead generation system are your fuel injectors. When the fuel injectors are weak, the engine starves. It runs fine when you're manually pushing fuel in other words, when you're actively hustling, and it stalls the moment you stop. And the fix isn't to hustle harder. A consistent, repeatable process keeps bringing people into your world week after week, month after month. The next component in your money-making machine is the cooling system. Now, in an engine, the cooling system's job isn't glamorous. It circulates coolant continuously to maintain the right temperature so the engine can keep running without seizing up. Now, in your money-making machine, it's a warming system, and most consultants don't have a warming system. Someone shows interest, maybe they connect on LinkedIn, or they listen to a podcast episode, or they had a good first conversation with you, but they're not ready to buy. So nothing happens. You've developed no way to stay visible with them. You have no consistent way to keep that relationship at the right temperature. Over the weeks or months, it might take that person to go from interested to ready to hire you. Without a warming system, your leads go cold. Not because they lost interest, but because you disappeared. And by the time they're ready to hire somebody, they've forgotten you exist. The warming system is what keeps that from happening. The next component in your money-making machine is the ignition spark, otherwise known as converting interest into paying clients. Now, here's the thing about an engine that's otherwise perfectly built. Without a spark, nothing fires. You can have the right fuel mixture, a full tank, a clean intake, and the engine just sits there. All that potential going nowhere. It takes a spark to turn fuel into combustion, into actual power. And that's what consultants are missing at the conversion stage. They have warm prospects, they have people who've shown genuine interest, but there's no spark, no specific ask, no moment that moves that person from I'm interested into let's do this. Now, the ignition spark is not about being pushy. It's about understanding that interest alone doesn't close. Something has to trigger the decision. For new prospects, that's a timely, specific invitation to take a next step with you. For people who've been in your world for a while, that's giving them a compelling reason to finally act. Without it, all of that fuel just sits in the chamber, unignited. Now that you know what the 4 most important, absolutely critical gears are in the money-making machine, it's time to diagnose your money-making machine right now. So pause this video and grab something to write with. Got a piece of paper? All right, let's go. There are 4 questions. They're yes or no. I want you to be brutally honest with yourself. No one's grading this. First question, specialization. Can you name the specific person you serve, the specific problem you solve, why they should pick you over every other consultant, and the measurable outcome you deliver without having to think too much or too long about it? Yes or no. Question 2, finding potential clients. Does at least one new qualified prospect per week take a deliberate step toward you, booking a call, downloading a freebie, or responding to your outreach? Yes or no. Question 3, staying in touch with warm leads. In the last 90 days, have you had at least 5 touch points with warm prospects who weren't ready to hire you yet? Not to pitch, just to stay visible. Stay top of mind. Yes or no. Final question, converting interest into paying clients. When you get on a discovery call with a qualified prospect, do you close 30% or more of those discovery calls? Yes or no. Now count your no's. Each one is a missing gear. One missing gear is enough to keep the machine from running reliably. 2 or more, your machine's not going to run at all. I want you to hold a picture in your mind. Picture what your business looks like when all 4 of these components are in place and running. Now imagine you wake up on a Monday morning, you know exactly where your next client is coming from. You're not wondering if the phone is going to ring. You have a system that's running, filling your pipeline while you've been doing client work. When a prospect pushes back on your price, you hold your ground because you know there are more conversations on your calendar this week with people who are probably a better fit and are willing to pay what you charge. Imagine you say no to clients who aren't a good fit. You make investment decisions, hiring decisions, pricing decisions from a completely different viewpoint. Not, can I afford this? But, does this move the business forward? And you feel maybe for the first time like the CEO of your practice, someone who runs a real business with a system that works, whether you're having a great week or a rough week. That's what running a well-oiled money-making machine produces. And the gap between where you are right now and the picture that I just painted, it's not as big as it feels. It comes down to identifying which gears are missing and building them in the right order. You now know what's waiting on the other side when you've got a money-making machine that's running like a well-oiled machine. The only thing left is to get a complete, precise picture of where you stand across the four components and a clear plan for what to build first. My money-making machine diagnosis 1-hour, one-on-one strategy session with me will identify exactly what's missing in your money-making machine and will determine what your next steps are. I look forward to seeing you in a one-on-one session with me soon. So book your session.